My job is social media. My whole life is on my phone. I'm on my phone all day. I'm just like consuming content because that's my job. I was just constantly consuming this vapid, soulless content. That became my reality. It rotted my brain, like, oh my god.
I have been a full-time influencer for over a year now. I just feel like I've gotten more dumb.
I'm tired of making everything about myself. It is way too much of a self-obsessive job. I don't feel like I'm learning anything new or like I'm being challenged. I know that I'm capable of learning and growing, and I feel like since I graduated and I've done this full-time, I haven't done anything with my brain. Having this as my full-time job has made me a lot more superficial.
Influencers prey on people that don't have critical thinking skills for themselves. Because the less likely you are to question their authority and their expertise, the more likely you are to buy a product.
My god, I am obsessed with it.
Okay, but really? I think the beauty community as a whole is forgetting the definition of obsessed. No matter how good a product is, it shouldn't be intrusively and uncontrollably on your mind.
Influencers. They dominate our social media feeds, our screens, and even our lives. Once upon a time, people made decisions based on critical thinking. Then came influencers. With every anti-aging video.
If you think I look crazy, it's because I am crazy. So I have been taping my face for a while now, and it really works and I love it, and I want to show you how to do it. I feel like at night when I'm sleeping, I feel like I scrunch up my face because sometimes I'll wake up with like one little fine line and I'm like, where is this from? So I've been taping this here and I wake up without any wrinkles there. I just tape them when I'm sleeping, and I tape my nose, and I did have a nose job when I was like 17.
This is your fucking reminder that if you're sleeping on your side, you're creating wrinkles on your face every single night while you sleep. All you need are paper towels, a pillow, and a pillowcase. You literally shove your paper towel rolls, make sure they're nice and full, into a big old pillowcase, and then you just spread them apart and you sleep with your head in the middle, and your head literally can't move. So this is mouth tape, and yes, I tape my mouth shut every single night before I go to bed. Sleeping properly is really important to anti-aging and looking and feeling your best.
Life-changing product that they would literally die for.
The item I literally would die for, eye patches. They helped me get up in days where I was depressed, and I just wanted to stay in the room, do nothing. But no, I got up, I put these fucking eye patches on, and I started cleaning. I started doing.
Let me show you all the glow up products that every single girl needs. You want soft skin and still don't use a dry brush? Like, girl, what are you doing? It literally just changed my life. I've been sleeping on her for a very long time till I picked one up, and I've never been the same. Smooth skin every day, all day. I literally live and breathe black castor oil.
This powder?
Holy cannoli! These are beautiful. These are new blushes from House Labs. Holy sh**.
Embarrassing apology video complete with crocodile tears.
I want to talk to you guys in this video. It's been so hard. So much positive. Hardest things I've ever done. I'm so sorry for disappointing you. It hurts me so bad. Sorry.
Unrealistic green juice infused morning routine. Or cringy makeup tutorial.
Got a white boy on my roster. He be feeding me pasta and lobster. He just hit me up on Tuesday like, what you doing, babe? Let me take you shopping. I said, well, I'm a little busy. He said, damn, I'm in your city. Well, anyway, it's okay. Hope you have a good day. I'm gonna send you about 850.
Our brain cells are slowly deteriorating. The lifestyles of influencers are promoting superficiality and mindless consumption, ultimately making us more insecure, distracted, and disengaged from reality. Let's talk about how influencers are destroying your brain. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word influencer? For a lot of people, at worst, that word invokes disdain and at best, annoyance. Of course, influencers are not one size fits all. There are plenty of influencers who use their platforms for education and contributing meaningful discourse to trending topics. And personally, I will say, outside of educational influencers, I also enjoy me a hair influencer or a pet influencer. I even like some lifestyle influencers too. I also love comedy influencers. There are so many great influencers out there. And while I don't personally consider myself to be an influencer, I consider myself to be a social commentary content creator. Influencer is not inherently a dirty word. Influencers in many ways have created a democratized sense of content creation where we don't have to rely on the mainstream media to disseminate information. Anyone can just pick up their smartphone and speak to the camera. But there are enough influencers who promote vapid, shallow, superficial lifestyles that make the word influencer feel so tainted. And this is why influencers evoke such disdain in so many people's minds. You know the ones that I'm talking about. The influencers who promote a caricature-like sense of womanhood that's very much giving their cosplaying a 2000s rom-com, or even worse, a 90s teen drama version of a woman or person, because this is not necessarily a gendered phenomenon. Although the influencer genre is dominated by women, and oftentimes it is women pushing these trends, there are some men in them too. But it's very much giving, let's go shopping to be an it girl, let's get botox and filler, let's go on a diet, how to be in your divine femininity era. Yeah, it's very much giving that, complete with the vocal fry and everything. Different from a content creator who may be paid to supplement their work, right? The work itself is not an advertisement, but advertisements might be embedded within the content to earn income. With these particular influencers, the advertisement never ends. The content is the advertisement. And the advertisements are typically very shallow and vapid and superficial. What are some common features of this kind of influencer's content? Well, first and foremost, of course, there's lifestyle content like what I eat in a day videos that are everywhere, showcasing restrictive diets in TikTok or Instagram-worthy packaging. They serve up a dangerous obsession with food, and the most viewed what I eat in a day videos are often those of thin, conventionally attractive white women. Meals like green juices, kale, and other foods that are often calorie restrictive. And the allure to watching these videos is that you want to look like this person, so you want to eat everything that they eat so that you can emulate their body type. But the gag is that you guys can eat the same exact foods every single day, and you'll never look like an influencer because you have a different body. You have different metabolism. You have different genes. And most importantly, these influencers don't look like that solely based on dieting. They look like that because they have money and access to treatments and surgeries and things that you simply don't have access to. But influencer culture doesn't compel you to think like that. It compels you to suppress your critical thinking and just want to emulate their lifestyles. And that brings me to my next point. Influencers are, of course, aesthetic obsessed. When your whole job is to be on camera and to sell a certain lifestyle or a certain product to people, you, of course, have to look good. So that's where you start to get, come with me to get Botox, come with me to get a BBL, come with me to get filler. And while I understand the pressures for women to be picture perfect at all times, being picture perfect won't save you from gender-based violence. It won't save you from being in a toxic relationship. It won't save you from being depressed. Take it from one of the most popular beauty influencers, Michaela Noguera, who has long suffered with body dysmorphia and insecurities.
Today I'm gonna be picking out my wedding dress. I feel like growing up like little girls, I look forward to a day like this, right? But I feel like it's different when you have body dysmorphia and an eating disorder and you're really insecure.
While I'm not a fan of Michaela, I appreciate her honesty. That's the part of the story that these influencers often leave out. They sell you the story, but they leave out the reality of the day-to-day experiences of living these lifestyles. My heart goes out to Michaela, and I hope that she's truly in a happier place. But the problem is that outside of these occasional vulnerable moments, the bulk of Michaela's brand still centers around superficiality. Not to mention, she has largely built her audience by manipulating them and preying on their insecurities by constantly lying about the products that she promotes. She's found herself in countless scandals because of her lies. What if Michaela actually told the truth about products? What if Michaela consistently used her platform to be vulnerable and authentic? What if instead of dramatically promoting product hauls, she consistently used her platform to educate women and girls about body image, mental health, and beauty standards, instead of teaching them to fill their voids with useless products? That would contribute so much more meaningful discourse to society than nearly passing out every time you open a blush.
Oh my gosh. This is one of the greatest things to happen to the beauty community in a long freaking time. Urban Decay brought back the original Naked palette. Look at it. Oh my, it's so like nostalgic. Oh my God.
Content like this proliferates social media feeds thanks to influencers. From Botox to fillers to hoarding makeup, many of these influencers are selling us superficiality. They push the idea that looking perfect is both attainable and necessary for you to be in your divine feminine, which only fuels your insecurities. We're taught to value looks over brains and style over substance. And that brings me to the next common influencer feature, mindless shopping. And we talk about this quite a bit on this channel. Never-ending infomercials that promote wastefulness and a culture of hyper-consumerism. Influencers teach you that you constantly have to shop till you drop. There is always a new trend or aesthetic that you need to try to measure up to, so you need to buy the proper products in order to fit in. As we talked about in our self-care overconsumption video, self-care is defined as doing things like getting your makeup done, or getting your hair done, or getting your nails done. And there's nothing wrong with doing any of those things. Hello, nails are always done. But I don't conflate that with self-care. They teach you to aestheticify nearly every facet of your life, right down to your refrigerator, all the way to your closet. And there's also the out-of-touch displays of wealth. We're all so accustomed to seeing influencers flaunting their wealth and extravagant lifestyles. And this truly creates a stark disconnect from the realities of everyday working class Americans and these influencers.
I'm richer than you, peasants.
Take the beauty brand Tarte's Trippin' with Tarte event that happened a few months ago, where 30 influencers were flown to Bora Bora on a private jet by Tarte while they sipped on Veuve Clicquot and ate caviar, all while singing to Fergie's Glamorous, belting out the famous line, "If you ain't got no money, take your broke ass home." In an era marked by economic instability, inflation, shrinkflation, all the flations, the nerve of these influencers to be conspicuously just showing off their wealth and calling people watching at home broke. This is precisely why people are sick of influencers. And if you criticize them, you're called jealous or a hater, because their devotees do not allow any room for critical thinking. And these influencers prey on that. Questioning is a no-no. All they want you to do is like mindlessly. And despite their fans supporting them religiously, narcissistic influencers talk down to their own fans. Case in point, Fanita.
Because at the end of the day, this social media shit I do for y'all is to get to the money, and I don't like y'all. Period. I'm in my living room, you're in the projects, and your fucking Section 8 housing apartments, sitting in your dirty, broken cars that need transmission replacements.
Class consciousness? Oh, no. We don't do that.
Because you're just a broke, jealous hater.
Influencers also portray their work as being extraordinarily demanding. They complain about how hard of a job it is to be an influencer, like Michaela, who we mentioned earlier, who went viral for doing exactly that.
Every single day, I get up at 6 a.m. I spend about 5 to 6 hours filming video content. I spend a few hours editing that video content. Then I have to work on my other social media profiles, whatever it may be, Instagram, whatever. I'm in meetings from 12 to 5. I literally just finished work and it's 5:19. Try being an influencer for a day. Try it. Because the people who say it's easy are so far out of their minds, try it for a day.
Yes, creating content takes a lot of effort. I will be the first to tell you that, as someone who does it by herself, by the way. A lot of these influencers, particularly larger influencers, have access to editors and probably have personal assistants on their payroll who are helping them to do these tasks. It's not even close to being comparable to someone who's working a singular 9-to-5 job or juggling multiple jobs or working in the gig economy. Many of us are juggling far more with less support. These influencers can take time off when they want to. They get to choose their own schedules. They can work really hard for 1 week and decide to take the next week off entirely. They're even being flown out to these extravagant locations by these brands to work. How many of you guys are being flown out to Bora Bora on a private jet to do work? So no, the work of an influencer is not even close to being comparable to the work of an everyday person. Sorry, I don't feel bad for you for having to sit in your own house and do makeup and record yourself doing that all day. I don't feel bad for you for having to sit on meetings with brands that are probably going to pay you upwards of $30,000 for one single post on TikTok or Instagram. Or how about a couple of months ago when influencer Hailey Bailey went viral after saying, "Let them eat cake." A quote that's famously attributed to Marie Antoinette, although Marie didn't actually say it. But the general sentiment of the quote is basically, let the poor folks eat cake while the rich folks eat caviar. Hailey used this sound and subsequently got lit up for it, rightfully so. And then in her apology video, she went on to say that she had no idea what the sound meant, that a bunch of other influencers had used that same TikTok sound and they didn't get any flack for it, and she thought that it was okay.
The sound choice truly had
no deeper meaning. I never would have chosen a sound on purpose to highlight wealth disparity or elitism. I never even thought it would be taken in that way.
And she also insisted on not being an elite.
Because I'm not elite, I'm a normal person.
Despite the fact that her house looks like this.
We're inside a $17,000 a month apartment in Soho.
Let's check it out.
Hello, welcome.
The apartment's insane.
Thank you. Some people would say it looks like a superhero's lair.
Who says that?
I don't know, some guy on TikTok.
Is this your kitchen?
This is.
What's your favorite thing in your apartment?
The window.
What window?
This window.
That window's insane.
Thank you. You can go into my spare bedroom.
Spare bedroom.
Which is also a mess, filled with laundry.
What is that?
This is my vampire machine.
show them
And this
this.
is my crystal carrier.
Let them eat cake is not something that you just say. And not to mention the context of where she uttered these words at. She uttered this phrase at the Met Gala, an annual event that's reserved for the rich and elite to play dress up. 600 people are invited and tickets are $75,000. The national median income of an entire US household is $74,580. So for one night of playing dress up, these celebrities and influencers paid $75,000, the equivalent of someone's entire yearly salary. So yes, ma'am, you are an elite. And the fact that you would say, let them eat cake in the context of this setting is very telling. But this proves my very point. Influencers have created a culture where they're not critically engaging with media. And it's very on brand for influencers like Hailey, because after all, she's not paid to think. She's just paid to sell. These lucrative brand deals that influencers like Hailey get incentivize them to be blissfully ignorant, which brings me to yet another feature of being an influencer. Playing it safe, be apolitical, be as palatable as possible, appeal to as many people as possible, never discussing anything political or social issues or anything that's divisive. But in order to have ethics, you have to stand on business. You have to discuss social issues at some point. You have to have some kind of moral politic, right? But why would these super huge influencers ever talk about something actually worth anything when the very companies that they work with profit off of these behaviors? Why would these influencers be compelled to talk about things like worker exploitation when these large corporations that they work with are exploiting their workers? Why would an influencer be incentivized to talk about overconsumption when the very companies that they work with are responsible for the overproduction that is polluting our planet? Why would these influencers talk about climate change when most of their makeup products and skincare products end up in landfills? They're not going to talk about the important social issues. They're not going to talk about capitalism or racism or whatever. And this is not all influencers, by the way. I'm talking about these particular kind of influencers. They're not going to talk about social conditions and social issues. The most serious issue they might touch on is how to get rid of a zit using a sponsored acne cream. Many influencers have also discussed how working with bigger brands caused them to lose their ability to be themselves due to these brands dictating everything they say and do.
When you work with major brands, they have a lot of requirements and restrictions, and they have a certain theme to the campaign, certain talking points, certain thing that they need you to stick to. So in a sense, they are partially directing and controlling your whole video. The bigger and more well-known the brand is, the more strict they are. And the more I felt stifled in my creativity when I was working with them. So I already wasn't being as vulnerable in my vlogs. Then I started working with these brands who had all these restrictions and different directions that they wanted to take my video in. And so you can clearly see the change in my content, I feel like. If you scroll back on my channel, you can kind of see where I was being myself and being super vulnerable and doing my own thing. And then it kind of started to change into more of a commercialized, watered down, family-friendly, hee haha, let's just talk about hair products. And you know what I mean? Like that vulnerability started to really dissipate and disappear.
More often than not, influencers are expected to have either no values or forego their values for the sake of a relationship with the brand or the check that you could or might get. And it felt icky, it felt wrong, and I just, again, didn't with it. And the final piece that really put it over the edge for me was the fact that in order to stay relevant and to continue creating new and different content, you have to buy things, even if you don't want them or even if you don't really care. And I just hated the mindless consumption that usually is attached to being an influencer. Because one, it feels disingenuous because you only bought it because you needed something to share with your followers and to get new followers. And two, it just contributes to buying all these things and just up the planet.
And this keeps us distracted from the real issues through mindless consumption. And there's also the tourism problem. Influencers create tourist traps by flocking to certain destinations to post on social media, often complaining when the aesthetic doesn't match up to their expectations.
Y'all save all y'all money, all y'all lives to come here. Let me be the one to break your bubble. First of all, Paris stink. It smelled like piss, cheese, and armpit. Child, eating the damn pigeons was crazy. And ain't nothing to do but eat at cafes. You will see a cafe on every corner because there's no activities here and the food is so mid. That's why there's hella fast food, American fast food chains, because their food don't taste like shit. And that shit look grimy as hell. Paris look grimy as hell and dungeon. Post-apocalyptic. Everywhere you go, it was graffiti. The buildings weren't inviting. They weren't welcoming. It was actually a horror sight to see. Like, this was shocking to me. They will never show you that this is what Paris really looks like. In the Eiffel Tower, child, this was the trail to the Eiffel damn Tower. This was the most hype shit I've ever seen. Outside of this tower, it ain't shit to do. There's no mime culture. They don't know how to capitalize off their culture. It's just this damn tower.
Yes, Paris is in fact a city that has poverty. Paris is in fact a city that exists with people living in it, and it's not just your romanticized tourist attraction. Just like cities like Los Angeles or New York City or Washington, D.C. that have great wealth, they also have great poverty. And if influencers exercise their critical thinking skills, they would understand that in order to have great wealth, you have to have great poverty. But wait, they're not paid to think. And not to mention this influencer's extremely deplorable caption of saying, "This looks like the Middle East." Like, how much more ignorant and xenophobic can you be? This city does not exist to be your romanticized aesthetic, and this TikTok was absolutely disgusting. So these kinds of influencers create a space for environmental degradation as well as cultural insensitivity, to put it lightly. In my wealth aesthetics video from last year, I discussed how Hawaii tourism has led to environmental degradation and displaced locals. And I also talked about how Tulum has now become a new tourist destination to flock to thanks to influencers. But Hawaii and Tulum are far from the only places that influencer tourism has ruined. Tree-lined streets in the Broad Acres neighborhood of Houston attracted too many photo shoots thanks to influencers, according to residents. Influencers would bring props and leave garbage behind, like balloons and confetti. There's also the town of Lake Elsinore, which is about 40 miles east of Los Angeles. It found itself facing what the mayor called a poppylips after heavy rains caused the city's Walker Canyon Nature Reserve to bloom with millions of bright orange poppies. Influencers quickly flocked there for photo ops. In just one weekend, more than 66,000 tourists flocked to the town just trying to take the perfect shot for Instagram after influencers made it popular. This caused a gridlock and standstill traffic in the streets, crushing poppies underfoot and fainting in the heat. And the streets leading to Walker Canyon had to be closed to non-residents because it got so bad. A sunflower farm in Ontario also had to shut its doors to Instagram users forever after, you guessed it, influencers overwhelmed the property and regular people followed suit. A 2019 survey showed that nearly half of respondents looked to influencers for travel inspiration. We're no longer enjoying nature for what it is or enjoying the environment for what it is. People are just being trained to just use the environment for content. In a recent Time magazine article, journalist Paige McClanahan says, as social media has exploded, it's also prompted many of us to roam the globe looking for people and landscapes that we can exploit for our own personal gain. And Professor Sean Smith of Tilburg University has spent the past several years researching influencer culture's impact on tourism. Smith argues that the recurring travel influencer visual motifs harken back to colonialism, portraying tourist destinations as, quote, available for possession and consumption. He says that sharing these kinds of images again and again perpetuate the sense that tourists have the right to consume a destination in this kind of way. In Smith's research essay, Instagram Abroad, Performance, Consumption, and Colonial Narrative in Tourism, he says, as tourism now surges in the post-colonial era, the prominence of landscape images and marketing materials and social media accounts illustrates an aesthetics of the world traveler, whose subjectivity is earned through unfettered access to the world's most beautiful destinations. He says, encoded with this aesthetic is the idea that that influencers believe that their privilege guarantees their visa and right to occupy that infrastructure, even as the infrastructure displaces local residents. It's very much giving colonizer energy because these influencers think that these places just exist for them to take pictures and they have no regard for the environment. This isn't to say that it's bad to take pictures when you're on vacation or visiting a new place. It's just when the only motivation to go to new places and try new things is to take pictures, that's when we lose our ability to just enjoy things and live our lives offline. Let's talk about the danger of perpetual escapism. Listen, escapism is a natural human desire. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a temporary, emphasis on the word temporary, reprieve from all of the social issues that, quite frankly, as someone who pays a lot of attention to these social issues, this shit is depressing. However, many influencers promote a particular sense of escapism that encourages a perpetual disengagement from real-world issues. Mindless shopping and scrolling and superficial fixes won't solve any of the problems that make us feel the need to escape in the first place. In moderation, escapism is necessary. It is necessary for me to watch a show that just makes me laugh, or watch a cat licking its paws aggressively. It just makes me laugh. It's a necessary part of life. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to set boundaries for yourself. There's no need to be in a consistent state of grief, but to stay in a perpetual cocoon of ignorance. That's the problem. I don't expect every single influencer to be experts on social issues, but it harkens back to a viral tweet from Nina Turner who said, for people who say, I don't do politics, well, politics is gonna do you regardless. Almost everything is a political issue. I hate to break it to people. Overconsumption is a political issue. Overconsumption disproportionately affects poor folks who consume the least, who often get items that Americans waste shipped off to them, polluting their landfills. So it's a class issue. Overconsumption is also a gender issue. It's overwhelmingly women in these factories who are producing fast fashion garments. So the constant barrage of mindless shopping and superficial fixes does nothing to address the material conditions that are contributing to feelings of inadequacy or depression that make you feel like you need to fill that void with the product. And when you do point out these problems, people feel like you're killing vibes.
Like, why are you being so negative? Why can't we just enjoy things?
That's how people respond to you. We've become so accustomed to not feeling our feelings, to being distracted and uninformed. It's okay to feel feelings of grief. It's okay to feel feelings of unhappiness once you discover the realities of the world. We're lacking critical thinking because we're constantly trying to suppress our feelings and fill our voids with a new purse or a new Stanley Cup. We're not meant to feel good all the time. The world is filled with a lot of negativity, but if we're not addressing it so that we can dismantle it, what are we really doing in life? On average, we spend 2 hours a day on social media, much of it consuming low-value content. These kinds of influencers are killing our brain cells with every what I eat in a day video, with every come with me to get Botox video, with every product haul that we watch. Instead of engaging with what is the fat phobia that makes me feel like I need to be as skinny as possible? Or asking yourself, why is aging seen as the worst thing that a woman can do? Or asking yourself, why do I need 10 Stanley Cups and 20 concealers? Why do I feel this need to keep up with the Joneses? We just scroll and scroll and scroll. Those questions are never asked. I think these influencers are teaching the next generation of youth to be very superficial people. I also discussed this in my wealth aesthetics video. Our ability to just enjoy things, whether we're on vacation or we're just out with friends or whatever, is fleeting because everybody is trying to act and look like an influencer. People have become not present in their everyday lives because they're trying to film the thing as opposed to just watching the thing. There's nothing wrong with documenting your life. I document my life frequently on social media, but I also have limits. 90% of my life takes place offline. People are chasing after aesthetics and are not present in their everyday lives. People think that they need plastic surgery because they don't look like an influencer or a celebrity. People don't have self-love anymore, so they think that buying a body butter or a skincare cream is the way to care for yourself and to love yourself. I'll say it again, a little escapism ain't never hurt nobody. I'm not telling you to never watch an influencer again. In fact, there are many influencers, as I said in the top of this video, that I enjoy. But escapism is supposed to be temporary. So we have to come up from the covers, from underwater, and breathe air, as polluted as it might be, and open our eyes, pay attention, educate ourselves. We can also choose to follow influencers and creators who are promoting something meaningful, something deeper than a superficial, ephemeral lifestyle that's dictated by trends. Curate your social media platforms. Personally, on social media this year, I've spent a lot of time disengaging from vapid influencers because, believe it or not, I used to follow them too. And this year I've been really mindful about, I want to follow people, content creators who are educators, who are activists, who are speaking to something more important than,
oh my God, this powder literally changed my life.
Let's do better. But that's all I've got. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you want to follow me on my social media or subscribe to my Patreon, you can find that all down here. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all next time.